It's really great to be here. It's sweet to be here. And Tom, anything I'd amend what you said is there's nothing bitter about today. It's all sweet what we're going to announce here today. And I'll just say one more thing about Tom is that we've worked together for 18 years now, 17 years. And Tom, if those of you that work with Tom, he's the kind of guy when you go to him and you ask to get something done, he says he gets to yes. He doesn't always get to yes the way I wanted him to get to yes. I might have to give up a little bit, but he always got to a yes, at least a little bit of yes. So this is a guy that's a great asset for the area, and I've enjoyed the last 17 years, Tom, working with you. It's been a pleasure. It's been a joy. So thank you very much for all you've done. Sorry the secretary couldn't be here. I guess it's a ground stop in Philadelphia. So, you know, in Congress, we're always trying to take credit for things, but we always get the blame. So I'm sure someone's going to write today that Shuster didn't get the secretary here, didn't get a problem solved at the Philadelphia airport. But so sorry she couldn't be here. I understand she's going to be here later today to participate in some other things. So she's been a great secretary to work with. Again, sorry she couldn't be here. But also thanks to the Bedford Chamber and to the Bedford County Airport for hosting us here today. This project, I've known about it for a number of years, but kind of stale. Nothing was happening with it. I know there's a lot of folks talking about it. Unfortunately, for me, about several years ago, they took away a thing called earmarks. The way that members of Congress could specifically earmark dollars to get these projects moving forward. And so we didn't have them. So we had to figure out different ways to move forward to get secure those dollars. And this one worked out pretty well, I think. It was about a year and a half ago when Tanya Grimes gave me a call and said, "You got to come and look at this project we have in Bedford. It's going to really be great for Bedford, tie the whole community together." So we went out, and those of you who know Tanya know how persistent she is. So she walked us through the project and talked about it. And a little before that, I passed a bill called the FAST Act. It was the highway bill. They told us Pennsylvania is going to get $82 million more because of the FAST project. And so I immediately thought to myself, this is the way we get the money for this project. So I called the secretary up, told her they were going to get $82 million, and that I wanted a little bit of that money for some projects in the district. And she said, if it's doable, if it's possible, we'll definitely do it. So we went to work with Tom and the secretary, and they were able to put the money together to move this project forward. This northern extension, I think it's really, really incredibly important to the community of Bedford and tourism, especially tourism. But as an economic development tool to attract people here to come here and say, wow, this place is really special. When you take that 4-star resort hotel, which is already, thanks to, I see Bill standing back there, thanks to the Springs and the Omni for doing that. I think it's a 1.1 mile trail from the hotel to downtown. And now with the 2.3 mile trail connecting Bedford, the village, the new village, to the old village and the hotel all together, it's, I think, going to be just a spectacular tourism spot. It already is. But connecting it all together really is going to make it a gem. And when we looked at the map, and we've been looking at the map for years, when you take and draw a 200-mile circle around Bedford, the town of Bedford, it encompasses 30 million people in America. You know, we're close to Baltimore, Washington, Harrisburg, Philadelphia, New York, and that encompasses those 30 million people. And the weekend vacations is growing, 3-day, 4-day vacations. So Bedford County is going to be poised. And again, attaching or connecting the colonial village, the old Bedford village, to the rest of it is, I think, going to be a real winner for the community. So I can tell you that in my 17 years in Congress and my life of 57 years, but 54 years, really being a Bedford County resident, this has been a labor of love for me. Something that I can tell you, I'm so excited. I haven't had nerves like this in a while when I got up and spoke, because I'm so jacked up about being able to get up here today and say, we got the money, we're going to connect it. So again, it is going to, what I think, going to be an incredible addition to what we already have here. We all know what we have here. The next person I have the privilege to introduce to you, just want to talk about a few things that he did, which dwarf what I've done in comparison. My father, Bud Shuster's here. And, you know, he's done so much for Bedford County. But the number one thing he did was I-99, which we see it off to the left. But here, the airport, the Route 30 between Breezewood and Bedford, you name it, he's done it. And what he's done over his 28 years in Congress really pushed Bedford forward. And I'm not going to talk about that because he's going to talk about some of those things, the way he's been able to change the environment here in Bedford County. So without further ado, I want to maybe finally say thank you to Secretary Richards, Tom, and I didn't say thank you to Governor Wolf. I saw him yesterday at Flight 93 and thanked him because without the governor's giving a thumbs up, the federal dollars might have been more difficult to get him here. So thanks to the governor also. But without further ado, introduce my father, Bud Shuster, who some people would call the original chairman. I think that's only him that says that.
Thanks, Bill. Well, I have another son named Bob, so I like to steal something that Bill says from time to time. When you're talking about us, there's Bill Shuster, Bob Shuster, and Bud Shuster. No matter who you're talking about, it's all BS. So it is indeed wonderful to be here in my home county to participate in this wonderful event. It's the icing on the cake. I think back many years ago in the Congress when the idea of providing infrastructure funding for rails and trails came up. There was a battle to get her done, but finally it did get done, and we were able to make sure Pennsylvania got their fair share. Now, many of my colleagues accused me that we got more than our fair share, and I think the same accusation has been made to Bill, and I think we both are willing to plead guilty to that accusation. So it's just wonderful to be here today. It's the icing on the cake. But it's something that happened only because of bipartisanship. We've got a Democratic governor, as you know. We've got a Republican Congress. If we hadn't been able to, if Bill hadn't been able to come together to work with the state to make this happen, it probably would not have happened. So it's so important to emphasize that bipartisanship is the kind of things that makes good things happen for communities. My dear friend, Jack Murtha, Congressman Jack Murtha, may he rest in peace. He and I worked closely together for years and years. In fact, oftentimes we would walk together from our buildings over to the Capitol for votes, and we'd laugh and say, okay, let's go over and cancel out each other's vote, except when it came to infrastructure and transportation. We were together. And many times Jack expressed his deep concern that as long as he was chairman of the Defense Appropriations Subcommittee, he was able to get the Pentagon to come in and put up employment over there in Cambrian County. But his great fear was that when he was no longer there, the Pentagon would be moving that out, and unfortunately that's what's been happening over there. And he made the point, he said the difference between what you're able to do for your district and I'm able to do for his district is that when I'm gone, he said, I'm afraid so a lot of this is going to be gone, but once you build infrastructure, it's there. And so not only is it here to be enjoyed today, but it's going to be enjoyed a long time after many of us, if not all of us, are gone. So that's one of the things that makes it so exciting. And of course, when those wonderful tourists hike into town and out to the village, they're going to be spending some money, and that's just fine. We're going to be in one more way supporting through infrastructure building the future of the area. I can remember years and years ago when there was a recession and the country went up to about 10% unemployment. We went up to 18 or 20% unemployment. And when things got good, the country would get down to maybe 5% unemployment. We would get down to 8 or 10 unemployment. But as you know, that's changed. Now we're right in there with the rest of the country, and indeed, I think a big part of it, well, of course, a lot of it has to do with infrastructure. It also has to do with the quality of our workforce, of our people here in Bedford County. I'll never forget when down at Letterkenny Army Depot in Chambersburg, when we had the big battle called BRAC to save the Army Depot down there and to save Army depots around the United States, we were in competition with St. Louis Army Depot, and one of us was going to be eliminated. And of course, this was the largest employer between Franklin and Fulton County. And so we worked very hard at it, and we were able to save Letterkenny. St. Louis got shut down. But after it was over, one of the commissioners who was involved in that decision told me, one of the factors was that down there in St. Louis, they had something like a 30% absentee rate on Fridays and Mondays. But down here in central Pennsylvania, you don't have that kind of absenteeism. And so I think here in Bedford County and through this area, we've got the kind of people who care about the community, who care about working, care about their families, and yes, care about America. So perhaps the most important thing I can say today as I close is God bless Bedford County and God bless the United States of America.